So I think it's extremely ironic, and I think it's hilarious for Top Rank, anyone from Top Rank, to look at PBC and say, why? You know exactly why.
Hi, this is Joe Cortez. You're watching ShowBizz, The Adult.
Oh, this is Bernard Hopkins, ShowBizz, The Adult. I'm out.
Starting things off, a little bit of context here. We've got the PBC, Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford with Top Rank and Bob Arum. Obviously rated #1 and #2 respectively by BoxRec.com. Why haven't they fought yet? What's going on? They're both undefeated. They both have great power. They both have the skills. Why can't we get this fight together? What's going on? So the first question that we're going to take a look at, are the PBC and Errol Spence Jr. ducking Terence Crawford and Top Rank? ShowBizz, you got the floor.
You know what? First I want to say this.
Go for it.
I can't help but to just applaud the welterweight division. How good they're looking. I mean, you don't get this often in boxing. And I'm talking about, the days of, the late 70s and the early 80s where you had Sugar Ray Leonard and you had
Hagler,
Man with the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran.
Hearns.
You had Tommy the Hitman Hearns, right?
Everybody.
You had Wilfred Benitez. You had those boys. So when you think about the welterweight division right now, you have Danny Swift Garcia. You have, of course, Errol the True Spence. You have Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. You
Thurman.
have Terence Crawford, you have Keith one-time Thurman, and you have all these guys, Showtime Sean Porter. You have all these guys, and you're expecting, hey, these guys got to mix it up. Well, quite frankly, they have been. Danny Swift Garcia, he fought Keith one-time Thurman. He fought Showtime Sean Porter. Showtime Sean Porter, he fought them all. He fought Errol the True Spence. He fought Keith Thurman, Danny Swift Garcia. He fought Kell Brook. You have Errol the True Spence. He fought Kell Brook. He fought Showtime Sean Porter. Danny Garcia. These guys are fighting them all. Now, what you're asking me is why haven't they taken on Terence Crawford? And what people like to do, a lot of us boxing fans, we must say it must be fair. And I'm saying, how can it be fair? It can't be fair from those warriors. Those warriors are taking each other on. And when I look at Terence Bud Crawford and I look at what he has done in the welterweight, you tell me, what has he done as a welterweight? Why would you be afraid of Terence Bud Crawford when you have fought the likes of Kell Brook, when you have fought the likes of Showtime Sean Porter? I'm speaking of Errol Spence here, having that night fight. I'm talking about fight of the year type of candidate. Why would you be afraid of Terence Bud Crawford?
All right, I'll tell you why you should be afraid of Terence Bud Crawford and why every welterweight isn't thinking they're afraid. They are afraid, okay? All those guys that you just mentioned, minus Kell Brook, are PBC guys.
That's right.
So it's easy for them to all fight each other and have a little party. And guess what? You got Al Heyman, who's the brain trust of the whole thing, putting them together. And he has an idea in his head of what he wants to happen. He wants a supreme ruler, someone that nobody can touch. Hey, I got all these other guys that can fight a bunch of other guys. And yeah, they can have a belt here and there. But I want one guy that's going to be the best. And he wants it to be Errol Spence Jr. He's the most talented out of all those guys. He's got the most ability. He's the strongest. We already saw him against Porter. And yeah, he beat him by split decision. Split decision. Was not unanimous. So you've got all those things going on. Now, I think it's really interesting. When you take a look at Errol Spence Jr., I don't think his resume is that great. He's got two big names that we can take a look on his resume. Obviously, Sean Porter, and I'm not taking anything away from Sean Porter. He's fantastic. But he's not in the same category as Terence Crawford or Errol Spence. They're just a cut above him. Now, at the same time, you take a look at Mikey Garcia, the next biggest name on his resume. Guy went up 2 weight classes to fight him. Are you kidding me? It was never a contest. It was a fun little experiment. Give him some respect. He took a beating for 12 rounds. Okay. And then you've got Terence Crawford. And why hasn't he fought anybody? Well, you've got the whole deck loaded against him, and nobody wants that. They can say they want to fight this guy. And guess what? PBC probably does want to put Danny Garcia and Thurman and Porter against him because they want him to be dented. They want him to take a beating. They want to send him through a murderer's row of welterweights so that way when he comes to Errol Spence, hey, Errol Spence is pretty fresh. He had one really tough fight, and then he fought a bunch of other guys. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say one last thing, and I'm going to give it back to you to retort. If you actually take a look at Bud Crawford's resume, at everyone that he's fought, okay, welterweights, who has he fought? If you take a look at, okay, but that's not his fault. Because he's not going to be dumb and take these fights and get hurt against Danny Garcia when he wants the best, but they're not giving him the best because Al Heyman knows what he's doing. He doesn't want to put in his crown jewel for the possibility of getting a beating, which could happen, and I think would happen, to be quite honest with you. But if we're taking a look at the body of work, I just mentioned 2 names, and you can throw in Kell Brook. If we look at Terence Crawford, you've got Amir Khan, Jose Benavidez Jr., Jeff Horn. Then we go down a weight division. John Molina Jr., Victor Postal, Ray Beltran, Thomas Delorme, Yuri Gambora, Ricky Burns, Andre Klimov, for goodness sakes. I can go deep into his resume. I cannot, after a few names, and Lamont Peterson, who was the shadow of Lamont Peterson by the time that he stepped in there. Kell Brook. Kell Brook was man with half a face at that point, okay? Triple G beat it in. It was gone. He doesn't have a glass jaw. He has a glass face, you know? And he's got a heart of a warrior, but he can't take the beating. So when you ask me why should they be afraid? Because the dude's got skills, and they don't want to put that fight on. They want to force Top Rank's hand, and he doesn't want to allow them to do it. All right, go back at me.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. That was a great effort. Good job. You know what? I loved it. I was very happy that you came with all. It was very winded. You did a good job. Let me tell you.
Thank you.
The fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is, I think this is extremely ironic. I think it's extremely ironic coming from Top Rank, okay, who is looking at PBC and they're looking at them as cowards. Well, they have short memory because I don't have to go back that far when it was Top Rank who was holding all the cards. You remember when Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao was taking on Timothy Bradley. Then he took on Timothy Bradley. Then he took on Timothy Bradley. Clottey, he was taking on Margarito. Margarito took on Cotto. Cotto took on Clottey. Cotto took on Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao took on Marquez. 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 When they were holding all the cards, Top Rank was making sure that his fighters, his stable, was only fighting each other. He was building his fighters, the brand within their stable, just like what the PBC is doing. So I think it's extremely ironic, and I think it's hilarious for Top Rank, anyone from Top Rank, to look at PBC and say, why? You know exactly why. But I'll tell you this, though. You don't want to put all of that on the fighters. Errol Spence, who just said 2 weeks ago that he'll wash Terence Crawford. Bud Crawford, he spoke to Errol Spence. They said they FaceTime each other. They left that conversation with respect. So that means that they recognize real, right? They looked at each other. They saw each other as recognizable, said that you are a real one. Even Terence Bud Crawford said that he would not take on Errol the True Spence now anyway, because he wouldn't want to take on Errol Spence after the car accident, right? He don't want to say Terence Crawford, he beat Errol the True Spence right after he had a car accident. He's not the same Errol the True Spence. He don't want that stain because Terence Crawford, he is a real one.